Hello, everybody. This is Linda Martin, and this is another Safety Bite with James Junkin. Hello, James.
Hello, Linda. Notice I'm sporting your shirt.
I know the safety struggle, right? It's always a struggle.
Struggle podcast. Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Struggle podcast.
Thank you so much. Looks good on you. So here we go with our Safety Bite for this week.
Okay.
My question for you, James, is, well, let me start with a statement and then we'll go into a question. The statement is, the safety profession has a lot of conferences, and conference season is starting in full swing, starting this month with the ASSP conference in Chicago, and then on to some other things through this fall. And so the question then, given that statement, conference season coming in full swing for safety professionals, a lot of people go to these conferences and they spend a lot of money. They spend a lot of money on the airplane fare, the hotel, the conference entry fee. How do we help people make the most out of going to a conference, get the most bang for their buck? What are your thoughts?
I think, look, that's a great question. And just got back from a conference. ASSP's conference is next week. I'm not attending physically, but I will attend through the virtual option just because of the work schedule that I have. But to get the most out of a conference, I think you need to have some pre-planning. You know, if we're going to invest this much time away from the office, and we're going to invest financial resources and travel to go to a conference, we need a plan of action on what we want that conference to deliver for us personally and professionally. Now, a lot of networking goes on, I understand that, but if your desire is just go to the conference, go to the bar, I can go to the bar here, in Louisiana. I don't have to fly to Chicago to do that. Right? But there are a lot of people over the years I've seen at conferences that the only place I saw them was at the bar. So if that's your thing, that's your thing. But with a lot of different activities that are going on, a lot of different speakers, look at something and look for activities that improve your practice, that make you a better safety professional, that challenge your positions on things. It's okay to go and listen to someone that has a contrary opinion to yours, particularly when we come to all these different safety theories that are out there. So I think you need to look at who's speaking, what the topics are, and what can benefit your practice. Because if not, you find yourself just kind of wandering around, and next thing you know, it's gone, and you really don't get as much value from the conference. But that's how I do. I like to seek out who I want to hear.
I really like the fact that you mentioned seek out people or speakers that challenge what you think. Okay, if you're Mr. Hop guy, right? The Hopmeister, and somebody's speaking on something else, safety differently, safety 1, safety 2. I don't know, somebody the other day said they are the accident investigation, something theory. But if those are things that aren't in your wheelhouse or not in your thought process, then I totally agree with you. You should be seeking out things that challenge your way of thinking, not so much to change your mind, which it's okay if it changes your mind, but to also, maybe change your mind if it so warrants in a certain situation. So I love that. So here's another question related to conferences, right? So networking, you mentioned, you go to the bar anywhere, and that's true, right? If I'm just going to go, 1,500 miles and fly and sit in the bar, maybe that's not the best use of my time. So what about networking at these events beyond the bar, right? How does a young person go about that?
Us old guys, we still carry business cards, right? But now everybody, they just exchange contact information via the phone. Meeting people, adding them to your social media, like professional social media, like LinkedIn. You never know when you're going to meet somebody at one of these conferences that has an impact on you later on in your career. I've certainly met a lot of people at conferences that now I consider colleagues, that have given me opportunities to grow and work, new jobs, new opportunities to work with their organizations. And I think for particularly those that may not own their own business, this is an opportunity to start growing that professional network that you may need. And when I say may need, you know, it's a rare day. It's not just say that an employee comes, they join with an organization, they spend 25 years with this organization. People move around for a lot of different reasons. And we can talk about that too, why people move around. But having those contacts and people that you've met can help inform your choice of where you want to work in the future.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I've got two comments on that. One, when I listen to some of the speakers, when I go to conferences and I hear somebody ask a really good question or the speaker say something particularly useful or intriguing, that it's okay to engage those people in conversation. I think most people enjoy that. They go there for that. I mean, I like to argue a safety theory or, you know, a practice or a technical aspect just as good as anybody else does, right? So that's one thing. And then, you know, the second thing is, and I tell this to young people, old people, and any people, okay, that you may have a job right now, but that doesn't mean you may have a job tomorrow, right? And so to your point, you should always be working a room, talking to people, making those connections. And above all else, if you are working in whatever job you're in right now, you should be outlining those experiences and updating your resume constantly.
I agree with that 100%. You should always be prepared professionally to present your CV, what your accomplishments are, what your education is. But as someone who hires a lot of safety professionals, that'll get you an interview. But really, I want to know how you practice. What is your attitude? What is your philosophies? What have been your successes? What are things that you've done that you discovered maybe you didn't do in the right manner, and how you've overcome that so that you can get better? You know,
it's going to be really hard to talk about your project experiences if you stay with the company 5 or 10 years and you never write those down, right? Because it's really hard to go back 5 or 10 years, and it's very easy to keep a notebook or a file on your computer where you type in about a project and the things that you did on that project, because you never know what James is looking for, right?
Well, I can tell pretty quickly when someone's BSing me, right? I've been around a little bit, maybe.
Yeah.
And so if you have those numbers handy, they're included in your CV. You talk about the impact of your presence being on that particular project. Did it lower incidents? Did you come up with a new incident and investigation methodology? You know, whatever it is that you were able to accomplish on that particular project, you definitely want to put it in there and have it handy for reference. One other thing I like to mention that I like to do at conferences: vendors. Okay, vendors have cool swag, but vendors also have new technology.
Right.
And so, you know, there are a lot of things out there now with I'm interested in with lone worker technologies, because I was reading a study, you know, I think it said 19% of lone workers had lost communication with their companies, with their organization post-incident. So they had an incident, they had no way to get in touch with people. Where we work, often in remote areas, sometimes at night and alone, without some type of process in place, you're really leaving people in a dangerous situation. So that's some new technology you might want to go check out when you're going through looking at vendors. Don't just collect the cool little mini flashlights, you know, the cheap little first aid kit. Stop around, talk to people. A candy, absolutely. You can tell I love candy, man. I like snacky.
I like a snacky too. I will say that, you know, you can only look at so many gloves, right? And you can fill your bags and bags and bags of gloves and earplugs and all those different things. But I am completely with you, James, that when a vendor is there and they're showing off stuff like, lone worker monitors or new monitoring technology, that's another big thing, right? You may not be an IH, okay? You may not be an industrial hygienist, but it is super important to know how that technology works, that the technology exists, that when you hire an IH, right, that you can speak the language that you need to speak in order to at least hire them and make sure you're hiring the right person for the job. So if I was going to spend any time on the expo floor, I would be at the new technology, just like you said. Show me how it works. What does this do? What's the detection limit? How is this better?
Absolutely.
Any other tips or tricks?
Get there early. Get a good seat.
Get there early and get a good seat.
I also like to take notes a little bit, and particularly if they're going, the person presenting is going to have a reference slide at the end or reference the works of others, right? So when I'm there, I'm like thinking about the next books I want to read, or what's coming out, or what they use to inform their theories. And that's how I built my safety library primarily.
Yep.
So that's what I do when I go to the conference. I go with a goal in mind. I already identified the speakers that I want to hear. And I'm glad at the ASSP conference this year that if you go, you also get the virtual library. That's one of the reasons I wanted to stay, because sometimes they put two heavy hitters that I really want to hear at the same time. But now we can hear both of those speakers and so forth. So,
amen. I think that is truly a great benefit, right? Because then you get to see everything that you want to see. You don't feel like you missed something, and maybe you'll see the other guy or gal live next time instead of on tape. So thanks, James, for your conference tips. I think they were going to be really helpful as people go into conference season, and especially this next week as people go to the ASSP conference and then on to NSC and some of the other specific oil field conferences, etc. So thanks again, James.
Safe travels, everyone.
And this has, again, been a Safety Bytes episode with James at Mariner Golf Consulting, and we'll see you next time.